Okay, I see the icon.
Yeah, we're streaming live.
All right, hello everybody. This is Lance Luke and Martin Pea. Uh, this is the last masterclass webinar of our 2025 series on building construction, safety, and good things like that. So welcome those of you who are on our Zoom platform. We're also restreaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So very important subject. And if you're not attending, it's probably because you're either working or Christmas shopping or something like that. But you can always watch the replay. And we have a very important subject, home safety for the holidays. If you're driving around, um, going to see holiday Christmas decorations with a lot of lights that use electricity. And you're driving around your neighborhood, you're going to see the same thing with those of neighbors who participate and want to get in on the spirit of things. But that's good for enjoyment. But we also want to let you know about some safety issues, and we're going to give you some tips today on tips for electrical safety and fire prevention. So this masterclass is presented by Construction Management Inspection, located in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I'm going to go through these slides fairly fast so we can get to the issue at hand. So home safety for the holidays. A lot of things to be aware of. You probably already know, but this could be a refresher. Let's talk about identifying common electrical hazards. It's pretty common. You don't want to have a situation where there's overloaded electrical circuits with holiday lights and decorations. Too many plugs, extension cords, and a power strip, and the power strip is plugged into another power strip, maybe plugged into the outlet. So you don't want too many electrical cords, or as we call it, um, spaghetti looking situation. Also, inspect all your electrical cords, not only your extension cords, but your power strip cord and all the cords, the wires that you're hanging either on your Christmas tree or outside your house or inside your house. Inspect it and look for any bends, frayed. If you can see the wire, um, the copper wire or some kind of metal looking wire, that's not good. Okay, that means the insulation that's covering the wire has gotten damaged or torn or ripped. Okay, so what do you do in those kind of cases? You don't tape it with duct tape, electrical tape, or anything like that. You throw it away, get rid of it. It's not safe. How many people know how to use extension cords? Everybody raises their hand. Yeah, we know. We just plug stuff in, and I see Martin raise his hand. But actually, there's improper use of extension cords, right? So the deal is, okay, extension cords, their purpose is to connect a plug that doesn't reach the outlet, right, to the outlet. But in a lot of situations where you're using it outdoors, right, it's illegal to use an extension cord for permanent wiring. So if you're gonna um, put up a fluorescent light, let's say, because you didn't have one in your garage, and the plug on the extension cord is not that long, right? So you gotta use extension cord. So there's a plug, maybe it's 4 feet, 6 feet, or somewhere like that. If you hang it in the light in your garage ceiling, it's not going to reach the outlet. So you use an extension cord, right? And plug it into the outlet. Believe it or not, that's in violation of the electrical code because you're using an extension cord as permanent wiring. And you don't nail or staple the extension cord to the side of your house. That's also not a good practice because a staple or nail could pierce the wire, and then all of a sudden either a shock hazard or you have a fire starting. Also, there's an unsafe placement of electrical decorations. You don't want to place them too close together, and there's generate a lot of heat when they're close together. Also, when the cords are plugged in, feel the cord. Okay, if it's super hot, then something's going on. The cords aren't supposed to be hot, like it's heating up something. Okay, so that's another red flag. So you want to space your electrical decorations a little farther apart for airflow. You don't want it too bunched up together. Choosing the right lighting, safe practices for holiday lights. Now, there's two types of lighting. Okay, there's Christmas lights and non-Christmas lights. No, only joking. There's indoor lighting and there's outdoor lighting. Both of the lights, okay, whether it's indoor or outdoor, should be UL rated. What does UL stand for? Okay, UL is the underwriter's laboratory. Okay, if it doesn't have that symbol on the cord somewhere, right, then you may not want to use it because the UL rating means that particular cord was actually tested out in the lab and passed. Okay. Now, if it has like some other rating or there's no label on it, you don't really know where it's from. It could be cheap and the wire could be thinner than the normal gauge. Okay, so very important. If it's an indoor lighting, you want to use it indoors. You don't use the indoor lighting outdoors, right? You can use outdoor lighting outdoors and indoors, right? But usually the outdoor lighting is a heavier gauge wire. It's made weatherproof and protected from any kind of weather, rain, sun, and all that. Indoor lighting, if it gets wet, it can short out, right? The wire can get exposed to the rain or any kind of water, and then it could be problematic. Okay, so be sure to read the box, indoor or outdoor. Okay, and just because you're stringing up lighting in your garage that's under a roof, that's still considered outdoor. Okay, not to be used. You don't use indoor lighting for your garage, any exposure. So for instance, if it's wind, heavy wind or a hurricane, right? Can the rain water hit the lighting? If the answer is yes, then it's not, your lighting is should be outdoor lighting and not indoor lighting. Okay, so there's a difference. Also, test your lights, inspect it before you install it. I know when I was small, I had these boxes of lights that look like in the picture where it's all like tangled up and all that. And I spent time untangling the lights, and then I started hanging them up using a ladder. I missed step one. I didn't inspect it and test it first. So when I twirled it around the nails and strung it around the garage, I said, oh, finally I'm done. When I went to plug it in, it didn't work. So I had to take it all down. And the old lighting was problematic because when one bulb didn't work, the whole string didn't work. Okay, that was that was pretty bad. So now the newer ones, if one goes out, the whole string still works. So make sure you want to test it out. In fact, right, take it out of the package, right? If it's brand new and test it right away. If it doesn't work, then take it back. Because if you wait too long, they might not give you a refund, especially if you wait to after Christmas and take it back wanting a refund. Okay, proper installation, safe practices for holiday lighting. Um, when you install lighting outside your house, make sure you use a ladder, right? And you're not trying to reach higher than you should. And look at any kind of metal. On roofs, there's gutters, metal gutters, and metal flashing around the edge of the house. You don't want to have the lights, especially a wire, in contact with metal, and don't use nails or staples. Now, um, if you use nails, you pound the nail in, not all the way, and leave enough room, and then you can wrap the light around there, but don't use nails to nail the wire, to your house eave or anything like that. Don't use nails, don't use staples. Okay. One thing is hard to get out. The other thing is if you miss and somehow the staple or nail protrudes the wire, now that's a shock hazard and a potential fire hazard. Some more safe practices, use a timer to avoid having your lights on overnight. I know in the old days people used to leave their Christmas decorations on all night. And then in the morning when they wake up, they would unplug it. Now, because of the high cost of electricity, most people don't do that. So thank you, neighbors who leave yours overnight. When I'm coming home late, I can see the nice decorations. So um, better to use timers, and you can set it so that it saves your electricity from the lights being on all night if you don't want the lights on all night. Okay, and some houses they have a lot of lights and decorations. They have like animated reindeer and Santa Claus and all that, and the electric bill is an addition of $500 a month in addition to the regular electric bill. And some people don't mind paying that, but um, if you don't want the high bill, then put everything on a timer, and then it just goes on at a certain time, and then maybe at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it goes off, or midnight, and then you don't have electricity being used, from the late evening until morning time. Key fire prevention tips for the holidays. Let's talk about your Christmas tree. You wanna, if you do have a live Christmas tree, you have to keep it hydrated. You have to keep watering it because it's a live tree, right? Although it's cut, it doesn't have any roots. What's happening is the bottom of the trunk where it's cut, it's acting as a root and it's drinking the water. So if you ever had a live tree in a tree stand and you filled it up with water, try check the next day. The next day, there's like no water at all because the tree is drinking the water. So why do you want to do that? Well, you want to make sure that all the pine needles in the tree stay fresh and green, because when it starts drying out, right, it gets brittle, it makes a lot of rubbish, and then the worst is that it's a fire hazard. Okay, so you don't want a nice Christmas tree in your house being a fire hazard. So keep watering every day, check the water. Believe it or not, there's sap in those trees. So no matter what kind of brand tree, whether it's a Douglas fir, Norfolk pine, um, any of the varieties, there's sap in the tree, and it's easily set on fire. Okay, so if you ever seen a Christmas tree on fire, it's very dangerous. The whole tree just it almost looks like someone sprayed it with gasoline because the whole tree just goes up at once. Okay, and that's a dry tree. If the tree is still green, it can still burn. Okay, so Pete, don't think that, oh, it has to look brown and dry before it becomes a fire hazard. A green tree is still considered a fire hazard. Some more tips. If you like candles, right? There's a safe placement of candles and open flame. Um, the object is you want to keep the candle on a plate or some kind of flat object that can collect the wax, and it also prevents the candle from, if the candle were to tip over, right, the plate can catch it and you don't have a live flame burning your tablecloth or centerpiece or anything else. So very important if you're dealing with candles. In fact, I know people who um, just restrict candles from their house at all. No candles. You can buy the ones that are fake and it's battery operated and they look like candles. They even have the flickering flame, right? But it doesn't have a live flame, so it can't catch anything on fire. So you may want to consider that as an option to a live candle. If you do have a fireplace or a mantle or um, things like that of a house, avoid flammable decorations near your heat sources. So in other words, you don't have like um, a bunch of ribbons or even live decorations too close to the fireplace or the flame because they can easily catch on fire. A lot of decorations are made of material. I saw one house, they had these uh, Santa uh, outfits and stuff hanging, uh, and it was like so close to the flame. And then you throw more logs in, and the flame starts escaping out of the fireplace. And next thing you know, the whole house could catch on fire. So just be careful. Just be aware of those decorations. You want to use flame resistant or non-combustible decorations if at all possible. I know there's some houses or even stores or hotels that have nicely decorated Christmas trees, and they have all these fake presents. And the presents are actually empty cardboard boxes that they wrapped and put ribbons around. So here you have looks like a lot of gifts, but they all could catch on fire, right? If there was a flame somewhere. So be aware of the decorations. If you're in areas that are cold, you're going to use heaters, space heaters and portable heaters and all that. All these heaters are considered an electrical appliance, so you want to be safe with those. If you're going to use an extension cord, like I mentioned before, make sure you inspect the cord and throw it away if it's not safe. And these heaters are actually um, heated up metal filaments, right? So it's still an electrical appliance. How about power strips and extension cords? You want to select the right extension cords and power strips, no matter what country you live in. I know different countries have different looking electrical plugs. Some have like a flat, like in the United States, you got a flat two prong with a ground, rounded ground prong. And then in some European countries, you don't have a flat prong. It's all rounded prongs. So um, whatever type it is, the situation still applies. You use power strips, but you don't want to overload your power strip. In fact, some people, oh, the power strip only has room for, six plugs. Well, we need more plugs. So they plug in an extension cord into one of the plugs. So now you have a power strip plugged into an extension cord plugged into a power strip. So you don't want you don't want to plug in a power strip into another power strip. You just it's an idea to get more power, but it's not safe. In fact, the rule of thumb is you use one power strip only, and that's it. If you need more electrical, then you got to find another outlet somewhere else. You don't use one outlet and have two power strips going into one outlet. And if you count how many plugs, you got 6, 12 plugs plugged into one outlet. You're not being safe by doing that, because guess what? It's the same, it's still using the same circuit. You're not plugging in to a different circuit. So you want to make sure to be safe. Avoid daisy chaining power strips. Daisy chain is you have one power strip plugged into another power strip. Okay. And you have multiple power strips all over the place just because you need more electricity. So in the photo here, if you can see it, you have one power strip plugged into another power strip. So, well, what do, right, to make it safer? You unplug the power strip that you added that's plugged into the first power strip with the white cord, and that power strip has to go to a separate outlet that's using a dedicated or a separate circuit. Okay, that way you split up the power consumption, the power usage. So this is not a good idea. If you ever see it around, try to separate it. And although even if the lights are considered low voltage, it still doesn't matter, because what are you going to do? Calculate each string of lights, what the voltage is, and now you got to use math, right, to figure it out. So instead of going through all that trouble, just try to separate the circuits. Also, proper placement of cords. So if you have the cords lying around and becomes a trip hazard, that's not a good situation. Okay, so if you have a Christmas tree and then you have all your decorations in the central area, then you don't necessarily have cords running all over the place. But if you have one Christmas tree in one location and you want lights around your window that's 20, 30 feet away, there may be a tendency to run long extension cords across your living room or whatever room it's in. And that becomes a trip hazard for people. I mentioned before safe use of extension cords and power strips, proper placement to prevent trip hazards. Don't plug too many things in. And be sure of the gauge of extension cords too. There's different gauges to use. There's a commercial gauge where the wire is thicker, and then there's the home usage gauge. So I have extension cords that are for commercial use that I use around the house. And then I have some smaller ones. You can tell by looking at the size of the cord. Oh, by the way, um, this picture, if you see it, the black plug, that's not a United States plug. That's one from Portugal, I think, something like that. So it really doesn't matter where you are, what country you live in. If you're not in the United States, the principles of safety that I'm explaining to you in this masterclass still applies. Okay, it's just the different types of cords that are used in different locations, but they still act as a conduit for electricity. Now we're moving outdoors. Outdoor electrical safety. Always use weather-resistant lights and decorations. Do not use indoor lighting for exterior or outdoor lighting. As you can see, this picture, they're using a lot of electricity because there's a lot of lights here and there, a lot of decorations. Ensure proper grounding of outdoor outlets. There's if you see the three prong, okay, the the prong that's rounded, that's not flat, that's your ground. Okay, and then there's also what's considered ground fault interrupter protection. That's commonly known as a GFI or GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter. And that's protection at all outlets near water sources. So GFI outlet should be at your carports, garages, anywhere within 6 feet of your sink, outdoor laundry sink, your utility sink, pools, any kind of area where there's water. It should be ground fault protected. Older houses not necessarily have that protection. Newer houses is required by code. Okay, so if you don't have that protection, I would recommend changing out, have an electrician change the outlet out. Let's say you're plugging your outdoor lighting in an outlet that's not ground fault protected. Change that outlet to a ground fault protected type of outlet. The outlet itself is only like $15-20, right? So for safety. Also, if you see the image, there's from the utility pole in the street, okay, the wire would go to your house. And so the wires, and this is if you have the newer houses have all underground wiring, but these are situations where there's overhead wiring. So you have a utility pole, then you have the wiring going from the utility pole to your house. That wire is called a service drop conductor. And then it goes to the service point, and there's a masthead conduit that goes to your main electric meter. Okay, the reason why I'm bringing this up is if your service drop, the conductors are too low, okay, that could be problematic. So you don't want to set up a ladder too close to this, or even people who have trucks that are high. You don't want any contact with these power lines because it's live. So just be aware of that. Make sure your outlets are grounded. If you don't have grounded outlets, then you should put a ground fault circuit interrupter. And basically, that's a synopsis of holiday safety, mainly electrical, okay, that we're talking about, to be safe, electrical, and then also anything that could catch on fire that are plants like your Christmas tree, any kind of other wreaths or um, vegetation, even holiday plants like these poinsettia plants and all that. If it's not watered and it's dried out, it could catch on fire too. So um, when we had numerous wildfires in Lahaina and parts of the United States, they were actually green bushes and trees that caught on fire and burnt. So the 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 big thing to remember is just because it's green doesn't mean that it can't catch on fire and burn. It can. So just beware. Um, what you miss, we've given probably two separate masterclass webinars each month. We have a website that you can go to that we covered a lot of um, different topics on construction and building, safety. There's a couple on condos and real estate. You go to our website for that. What's coming up? We have two masterclass webinars planned per month next year. So it's all on our website. You can sign up for it now if you want. And you're asking, well, what's your website? Here it is, askbuildingexpert.now.site. Now, we don't only have webinars that you can sign up for. We have special websites that we call expert websites. So for each component and other important subjects, we have a website for that. So for instance, we have a website for painting, waterproofing, fire life safety, asphalt. We have a website for construction contractor licensing in Hawaii, Lahaina wildfire. There's a whole bunch. And there's no cost like our masterclass webinars. It's free. We have a National Building Expert blog that has tons of information that you can learn from. And then, of course, our masterclass webinars that you can take a look at. And we have books that are available too. As of this date, we have over 75 books that are available on different subjects. How safe is your building? Cast iron, drain piping, asphalt reconstruction, concrete spalling, senior safety in the home, Lahaina wildfire. We have 3 books on the LA wildfire. So we just keep writing away. And then we have other websites that are related to the topic. We have one, electricalexpert.now.site and fire life safety .now.site. So we're always wanting to provide additional knowledge and information to help people. And I was telling Martin, if one person benefits from, one of our master classes or information on our website or a book, then that's what we want. We want to help one person, 2 people, and a bunch of people. So that's the reason why we're doing this to help everybody and educate everybody. The knowledge and information is free. You just have to avail yourself and decide, how you're gonna learn. Is it from a book? Is it listening to or watching a webinar? You can listen to a webinar. There's different ways that you can get the information. And also, if there's information that you need, you have questions, and it's not covered in any of our materials, you can still reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. So that's the end of our presentation. Happy holidays. You got questions, we got answers. So we got some time now to take any questions that may come up. And even if you're like Christmas shopping, if you're online on Facebook, you can always post. So if we can't get to you today, if you make a post on the platform that you're on, like YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, we're always going to respond. So we may not read it right away, but we'll get to it. And if somehow we missed it, send us a reminder and we'll be able to touch bases with you and give you the answers that we need. If we don't have the answer, we'll tell you where to get it. So that's how nice we are. We're good people. So we're gonna turn it over to Martin now and see if there's any questions that came up.
Oh, yes, Lance, you have one on the Zoom. Can you look at that? Or you want me to just kind of give you that question?
Oh yeah, you wanna read it?
Sure. It's from one of I think one of your Zoom live viewers. It's asking, many strings of Christmas lights can be connected in series. How many strings can be daisy chained to one outlet?
Well, my first answer would be, you see the little paper that comes in the box? You might want to read the paper and see what it says. That's your first instructions, but um, it's a case by case basis because it depends what type of lights. If it's strings from your Christmas tree, you can basically add a lot of strings because that Christmas tree wiring is a thinner gauge and it doesn't use that much electricity. If it's outdoor lighting, the gauge should be thicker and you shouldn't be connecting too many together. But and then what you do is after you um, connect it together, turn it on, and then feel the wire. Okay, if the wire is cool, then you're okay. But if it's hot, it's just like it's heating up. I don't think that's a good idea. So let's say you have like 5 or 6 strings together. You feel the wire, and it's like there's one area that's like hot. Okay, well, try and take off half the strings and then fill your wire again, right? So um, there's different manufacturers, and most of these are made in China. Um, sorry, I don't know what happened. Spaced out. So um, they're not made in the United States, so just be careful. Every there's so many different manufacturers, so I can't give like a overall, well, you can only connect 3 or 5 strings together. So read the label, read the box, instructions in the box, read the little paper that comes in the box. Don't read the Chinese version. Okay, read the English version. So even if you read Chinese, you probably don't want to. The problem I have is they give you these instructions and the paper that it's printed on is almost like rice paper. The thing is so thin. Um, and then some other things that you buy, like a bigger appliance, you get this huge manual and you go, whoa, what is this? And then you look and there's 2 pages of English, and then the rest are in French, Italian, German, and who knows what. So the majority of that the paper is not even in English. So I guess they want to protect themselves because they don't know who's buying it, right? So all right, well, hopefully I answered that question. Yeah, have fun decorating if you haven't done already.
Okay, thanks, Lance. I guess the rest of the questions have been kind of either come through the social or were submitted by interested parties here. But Next one is, how many devices is it safe to plug into one power strip during the holidays?
Okay, if you have a power strip that has six plug inputs in it, okay, then you can plug six in that power strip as long as, like, if we're talking about string lights, you can plug string lights in there, but you don't want to be plugging in an extension cord in the power strip or another power strip into that same power strip. Okay, extension cord is to use to plug the power strip in because it doesn't reach the electrical out. So an extension cord is not made to plug in a power strip and then now you have more power, right? Or you used up 5 of the slots in the power strip, you have the 6th one left over. Now you plug an extension cord or another power strip into that 6th slot, and now you got 6 more slots, right? That's not how to do it. You're just overloading the circuit and creating a fire hazard. So just be safe. Sometimes it's common sense, like, oh, should I plug this thing in here or not, right? So modern houses can handle because they got more circuits. The older houses are more problematic because when the old houses were built, they basically didn't have enough outlets, right? So the older the house, like you have one bedroom, for example, you have one outlet in that bedroom. That's it. The more modern houses, you got one outlet on every wall, right? Or if it's a huge room, you got one outlet every 6 feet. So you got way more outlets than you really need. An older house only has one outlet per room, or maybe two, and that's not enough, right? So just be aware of that. Just because there's only one outlet, like, or one or two outlets in your living room, that's not ideal to be plugging in, 2 or 3 power strips with multiple extension cords and all that. You're just creating a fire hazard. So the big issue is safety first. And that's our message today, basically.
Okay, thanks, Lance. You mentioned a term that I thought I'd just ask you about. You mentioned the word circuit. Is the circuit the same as an outlet? Is that what we're talking about?
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought that up. A circuit is, if you go to your circuit breaker box and there's one breaker, let's just look at one breaker. That breaker is one circuit. Okay, so that's a circuit. If it goes, so from that circuit breaker, let's follow the wire from that circuit breaker into the living room, and there's one outlet there. Okay, that one outlet is one circuit. Now there could be more than one outlet. So let's say there's 2 other outlets in the living room, and it's all connected together, running back to that one circuit breaker. That's still one circuit. Okay, so what I was talking about earlier in the presentation was that even if you have 3 different outlets in your living room, and they go, oh yeah, we got more electricity here, that's not necessarily true if it's all running back to the same circuit. You're just adding more and more electrical devices on the same circuit. Okay, older houses got way more circuit breakers. Modern houses got more circuit breakers than older houses, and they're separated, right? They could be the lights on a separate circuit, the outlets on a separate circuit, and you got separate circuits for your bedrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen, and all that. Okay, that's why older houses, if you look at the circuit breaker, there's maybe 6 breakers. And then you look at a circuit breaker box on a modern house, and there's like 20 or 30 breakers. Okay, so that's the difference. Yeah.
Okay.
And then also the amperage, right? Older homes, your amperage could be 50, 75, maybe 100 amps, right? More modern homes guarantee 100 amps plus. The bigger houses have 150 to 200 amps. So you could plug in, multiple strips of Christmas lighting and all that, and it wouldn't even make a dent in their load for the electrical. But if you do the same thing on an older home that's only rated for 70 amps, um, things might not look too good. Like you're using a hair dryer and you look and your bathroom light starts dimming, things like that. That then that's this overloading, something's going on. You're using a vacuum cleaner, or I've heard people. It was a email I got. Somebody was cooking a turkey, and so they had their oven on, and they were um, using their dryer. It was all electrical, using their dryer, and then somebody plugged in a hair dryer, and the power went out or something. So um, too much draw, too much load on the electrical system. And there was another situation. The person used a rice cooker and turned it on before they went to work. When they came home, they thought they had hot rice, and the thing never went on. Somehow there was some overload, and that button was pressed, and then it didn't work. So that was on an older house. So just things to be aware of.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. No, that's good. Yeah. Now that you've explained all the circuit things, so. Okay, well, let me hit some of the other questions that have come in here. Next one is, are there specific brands or certifications we should look for when buying holiday lights or extension cords?
Well, I wouldn't say specific brand, but if you look at the tag and it says made in China, which most of them are, check the quality of it. Look at the wiring. I've seen some where, man, it looks so cheap. It's like I want to use this. So here's a story. My brother spent an hour. He bought lights and he hooked it up around the garage, right? And it was really nice. They were all proud. And then it only lasted for one day. The next day, kaput, the thing didn't work. So I said, "Hey, where you get the lights from?" "Oh, I bought them on Amazon. It was cheap." And I go, "Yeah, it was so cheap the thing don't work." So I said, "Here's an idea." He said, "What should we do?" I said, "Take it all down and you buy your lighting locally from Longs or Hardware Hawaii, or these stores that sell lights. So then if it doesn't work, you can take it back, right? It's too late to try and get a refund from Amazon, you know." In fact, he told me that they was going to charge him $5 or something to return the lights. I don't know what it was. I said, forget it, not even worth your time and money. So that's a good example.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's see what else we got here. This next is oh, can I use indoor lights outside if I cover them or keep them dry?
You cover them with what?
I don't, it just says cover them up or keep them dry.
Okay. So you don't want to use indoor lights outside if you're going to keep them dry, like put a tarp over it. What if the tarp blows away? Or anyway, there's a caveat, because if you buy a box of indoor lighting, it says do not use outdoors. Okay, so that's already a big issue, right? And then why would you want to use indoor lights outside anyway? They're not going to last. It's not made. Um, the each light itself is not waterproof, right? So if water gets in, it's just gonna rust a metal, and now the thing's only gonna last like one season. So you wouldn't want to do that. So just be careful. Read the instructions and please follow the instructions.
Okay, thanks, Lance. This next one looks like it's come from a new family or something. The question is, what's the best way to child-proof holiday electrical decorations?
That's easy. Keep the kids away. Um, don't, I mean, if the child is too small to understand about electrical, then common sense, you got to keep an eye on the child and not let him or her wander around and all that. You know, what's happening is when the children see and they're excited about holiday times, they want to look under the tree, they want to look at the gifts and look on, the tag to see if their name's on the tag, and they get excited and all that. So, which is to be expected, but have a talk with them and, tell them about the electrical wiring and things like that. I know when in my house when I was growing up, one of our jobs, the kids' job was to plug in the lights. Um, I guess after dinner you take the plug and you plug the plug in the outlet, and then the Christmas lights go on and things like that. So educate the children, let them know about safety and things like that. No horsing around, running around where they could trip over the wire, and um, every connection has to be solid. If you plug a plug into another plug like a string and it's not plugged in all the way, it's like halfway, it may not be that safe because it could create what's called arcing, where the electricity has to jump and it's not solid connection. So there's a lot of stories about fires and people getting shocked and all that during the holiday time. So that's the whole reason why we're doing this masterclass webinar, to educate people, make them more aware, because even if you learned about it last year, or you know about it, this is still a good refresher um, presentation to just make everybody more aware. I know people are busy during the holidays, there's shopping, there's parties and all that, but um, just be safe with your electricity and your trees and all that. Don't let them dry out. All your garland, if it's live garland, you want to keep it fresh as long as you can. So Martin, we got any other comments or questions or anything?
Well, we just have one more that I've seen here, and it's a good one there. How often should I replace my Christmas lights or extension cords if they seem to still work fine?
The rule of thumb is replace the extension cords when it gets frayed, bent, or too curled up, or there's a window of 3 to 5 years. So even if the cord is still working and it's year 10, I would replace it anyway, just because it's past the 5 year mark. So just because it looks good doesn't necessarily mean it is good. And then how often are you using it, right? If you're using the extension cord every day, every week, then it gets more use than if you have one or two dedicated extension cords that you only use for Christmas time, right? And you pack it up in the same box that you pack your holiday lighting and all that, Christmas tree lighting or lighting around the house, then it'll last longer. But if it's the same extension cord that you're using for holiday lighting, and then you use it for your weed eater or um, the leaf blower or whatever else you're using the extension cord for, it's not going to last as long because you're using it for multi-purpose, right? So um, I would say 3 to 5 years. If you keep it in good shape and all that, it could last longer. But here's something: when you plug it in and use it, okay, try feel the cord. If it's hot or really warm, then I would replace it. So don't take a chance. And I know I've been to the home and garden stores and they got different types of extension cords. You know, those orange ones and yellow ones, and some of the maybe 10, 12 feet ones that are orange, that the wire, if you look at the gauge, the thing is so thin. I'm I'm hesitant to even use that because it just doesn't look good to me. So I end up buying the heavy duty one. It's a commercial grade, it's a thicker gauge, but it's way more expensive. But I opt to go for that because then I know the wire inside is thicker and it's going to last longer. So um, don't be cheap when it comes to electrical. And I think you're going to save a few dollars, but it may not be worth it. So, and I know there's um, a lot of different extension cords that people use at home outside of their Christmas lighting, right? Just because the cord can't reach. I think it's some kind of um, a scheme that these appliance people, like clocks and radios and all that, they purposely make the cord short so you're forced to buy an extension cord. That's how they make their money. It seems like these people who sell batteries, they purposely make the battery not last so you can keep buying more batteries. So, um, you know, might be a scam that we don't really know about. But anyway, any other comments or questions before we sign off?
Oh, well, there's none that I've seen come in, but I had a quick one. This is something I used to do that I don't do anymore. As far as guidance on leaving out your Christmas lights, before I just used to leave them out, a long time, almost the whole year, and then, use them again. So you have any thoughts on that in terms of, making sure you take them down, put them away? You mentioned about packing things up and all that. So some places I used to see, they just leave the lights up all year and then they turn them on the next year. Yeah. So what's
Yeah.
the risks there? Yeah.
Well, if you live in a homeowners association, they don't allow you to do that, right? Even if you don't turn it on. So you turn it on, like historically, you put your holiday decorations, your lights up, whenever, right after Thanksgiving, you keep them on until right after New Year's, and then you don't use it anymore. Even if it's still on your house and you don't use it, if you live in a homeowners association, they don't allow you to do that, right? You got to remove it. So I would say for maintenance wise, I know it's a hassle, take it down and then put it up again. The older lights, I remember, had these clips, and the clips are metal, and the metal was all corroded.
Oh,
Now they're making the clips with plastic, cheap plastic. So they're getting better at doing lights. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend leaving it up because it just gets weathered and the sun. I don't think the wiring is made for constant UV. Believe it or not, the sun has an effect on and it's only plastic. The conduit is like some plastic rubber thing, and it's not going to last that long. So if you can, take it down and then, put it back up. I used to do that because I was lazy, and then I learned my lesson because when I went to take it down, um, it was all corroded, and even like when I had to replace the light bulb inside, the metal contact was corroded too, just because it was just
Yeah.
out there in the sun and rain and wind for a year. So yeah, um, give me your address, then I'll let you know if you should leave it up or not.
Now you can tell I'm not in an association. Huh?
Yeah, good. Okay, well, that's the end and our final masterclass webinar for the year. On behalf of Ask the Building Expert, Lance Luke Martin Pea, we thank you for attending. Those of you who are attended one or more webinars during this past year, we really appreciate it. Spread the word, sign up for a webinar or two for next year, and happy holidays.